Hi everybody. Recently at our group council meeting, that's the Emmanuel group of churches board of trustees, I presented some ideas for 2021, some thoughts that I had having prayed and talked to a good number of people about where I thought God might be inviting us to go in 2021 and beyond, building on all that's come before, including the mad year that 2020 has been. 2020 has been a year full of change and challenge and difficulty, and nothing's gone how we planned. And indeed, as though everybody wants a vision, I remember many of us churches having a 2020 vision for 2020. And I don't believe that many of our 2020 visions for 2020 actually came to pass in the way that we thought they were going to. That being said, I'm going to spend a few minutes now letting you know what I think our priorities ought to be for the coming year in 2021 and beyond. If you're on our church database, you'll be receiving a version of the words that I'm using in this video in a letter over the next few weeks, which goes into more detail about how totally thankful I am to God and to so many people for what we have been able to do for the community around us and to serve our church and to hopefully bring God glory during 2020. I'll keep it short in this section because I want to get on to 2021 stuff before you decide to scroll on to the next video. But I'm thankful to God for his sustaining of all that we have been able to do. And I'm so thankful to our staff and volunteers and to each member of our congregation for the way that they have contributed enormously in adapting pretty much everything that we do. And in a lot of ways, making them better and more radically what they need to be than they've ever been before. It's amazing how flexible, adaptable and so on we've had to be, but we have also managed to be. And as a result, many thousands of people, literally thousands of people, have been impacted by the work of Emmanuel Group of Churches, by the Western Favour Centre Food Bank, by Cafe M, and the things that we do in partnership with so many other individuals, churches, charities and organisations locally and nationally too. It's really fantastic, and to God be the glory. But on to my hopes and ideas for 2021. Everybody always wants a vision. And as I said, I remember a lot of churches having a 2020 vision for 2020. But unforeseen things are exactly that, unforeseen, and nobody would have expected what has happened this year. Our main vision and goal as a church should always be, I think, to be like Paul, that's Paul from the Bible, who said, I resolved to know nothing among you apart from Jesus and him crucified. I hope that within our aim to be a family of faith where there's always room for one more, we always have Jesus at the front and in the centre of all our aims, whether they're aiming towards youth groups, work in the community, evangelistic work, services we put on, the hospitality we extend to others, or anything else. Aside from that, here's what I would love to see us doing and what I think God is inviting us to work towards in 2021. Firstly, that those people who are already part of our family of faith grow in theirs and increase in confidence in sharing their faith and telling their story of faith to others. We all have stories to tell. The stories are more interesting than we think they are. All of us need the confidence to open our mouths and start talking. God will do the rest. Secondly, I hope and pray that we would increase the priority placed on prayer in the life of our church. both that we would grow in confidence in praying together and praying as individuals. Praying deepens our faith. I would propose that we have a weekly 1-hour prayer gathering on Zoom for any interested as a way of beginning this deepening of our commitment to prayer from early in the new year. Details about that will be coming out early in January. Do look out for them and join us if you would like to. Nothing good in the Christian life happens without prayer. It's where we need to start. It needs to be the foundation of who we are and what we do. My third key priority is that we would make stronger the link between children and young people who we're so blessed to have as part of our family and the rest of the life of our church. Following Tim Alford's excellent contribution to the service on December the 6th, which you can find on our website on the page for that service if you've not seen it before, I hope that we will all see that encouraging young people in their growth in faith, as well as seeking to create the conditions for them to feel willing and happy to participate and share their many gifts with us, is something that we all have a part to play in. Mel, our youth worker, does a fantastic job. I'm very grateful to her for all she does. She needs help in raising the profile of our amazing work with young people, alongside the work that Yvonne and I are doing in schools. We'd love and welcome a larger team for this work too. If you're keeping up, I'm just about to get to my fourth priority, which is that the Rectory Farm congregation moves to the community centre, which has been so beautifully refurbished on the estate. We're developing an even stronger partnership than we've had before with Community Spaces, who run the centre, and they're excited to work with us. We need to make sure that we have the right current vision of God for this congregation and how we can engage with the estate and the wider community. I hope that this will come in the time ahead. Number 5. This is quite a key one, even though it's 5th. The appointment of a new Free Church minister, and therefore the growing of our clergy team. Please be praying for us. We've prepared a profile for potential new ministers to look at, new Baptist ministers to look at, and this will hopefully be going out early in the new year. It only takes one person to be the right person to come along and add to our team, and I am confident that God knows what He's doing. Be praying for us as we enter into the next stage of this process. Priority number 6, that we explore and seek God's lead for the best way of managing and supporting the way that we are a church, which also has a lot of business and charity management needs and responsibilities. As well as being a church that does services, we do a lot of other stuff too, and this needs to be managed legally and properly, efficiently. Doing so at the minute, I've seen, takes far too much from too many people who are giving of their time freely. We have many people who do a fantastic amount for us, for which I'm hugely grateful. So that's hugely grateful. We should not take this for granted. And handled rightly, it may well be right for us to look to expand what we have in terms of staff on the business side of Emmanuel. Please pray for us in that too. The 7th priority is related to mission and evangelism. I'd love us to explore the beginning of an Eden team on one of the estates in our area, along with developing our Edge Centre. Eden teams are managed by the Message Trust, who are based in Manchester, Recently, I was invited by them to attend a dinner outlining their work at present and aims for the future. The aim of Eden teams is for a mixture of local and imported people to move into a particular estate to serve and minister to and with people who live there. Blackthorn fits the criteria for the kind of estate they would work with because of where it sits in terms of being among the most deprived estates in the country. For a long time, I've wanted to see us do something like this, but money has always been a barrier to exploring this work. We'd normally be expected to contribute circa 14,000 for a post for someone to manage work like this. I have an offer from a member of the church to cover £1,000 a month for a period of 3 years, should we go ahead with this work. God is on the case. If you're interested, search for Message Trust Eden Teams on Google. I think you'll be impressed and excited about the possibilities. In terms of an Edge Centre, we already are developing an Edge Centre as Paul Foster is getting ready to begin work with our Money Support Centre in January, which is part of Edge. Edge is a network of people and churches who are on estates seeking partnerships for mission and evangelism. It's headed up by Carl Beach of Christian Vision for Men. Pray for us and for Paul as we develop new ways of engaging with the wider community, both in terms of support for issues with money and potentially later housing and jobs, and prayer and seeing people grow in faith. I've been really enjoying getting to know Carl and seeing the vision of the Edge Coalition develop. It's exciting, and like Eden seeks to see local people coming to faith and then growing in faith themselves, forming new families of faith, and so on. I'm in a watch this space mode with these two questions, but I think a combination of Edge and Eden could be amazing for Emmanuel and the area that we are in and serve. The process for partnering with Eden is long, so we don't need to make a major commitment now. It includes people from Eden coming to talk to churches to gauge their buy-in and so on. So it's a case of seeing whether the church as a whole have a vision for Eden or Edge. We at Emmanuel may be asked to provide a few people to live on such an estate as one hosting an Eden team. However, the main role of Emmanuel would be to be a host group of churches to nurture and disciple those who come to faith and want to know Jesus and join a church family. I think this could transform our community, grow our church, and glorify God. Please, would you pray and see what you feel God is leading us to? I'd like us to explore this early next year. Another priority, the 8th one, if you're still watching, is that we continue to serve the community around us in so many ways, through our links with schools, through Cafe M, through the new money support service that I just mentioned, through our food bank, and more. I continue to hope and to pray that the food bank will one day not be needed, but it certainly is needed now. I want to ask you to consider contacting our local representatives on the council and in the House of Commons to raise the profile of those we meet through our work. Their voices need to be heard, and I believe we need to pray that God would turn the hearts of many in our culture and in our nation to justice and mercy and walking humbly with Him. That would bring about a major change. My final hope, number 9, is probably the biggest one of all. We do so much, achieve so much, meet and serve so many people. It truly is wonderful. I really hope that we'll find appropriate ways to see some of the many people that we meet have the opportunity to meet Jesus for themselves and become disciples. As far as I can see, the way this will happen is if praying people pray, and we continue to be disciples who make disciples and grow more intentional in this regard too. If you've watched all the way through this, congratulations. I'm sorry to say that you don't get a prize, but thank you for sticking with me. As I said at the beginning, my predominant thought at the end of 2020 and as I look forward to 2021 is that I'm grateful to God. So much has happened this year, and all of it has been sustained by God. I hope and pray and have confidence that this will continue in the year and years ahead. Merry Christmas. Every blessing to you all.